The young and the restless spoilers shock. The scandal that erupted on the streets of Paris between Cole and Mariah has proven to be far more than a fleeting misstep. It has become the crucible in which both lives and reputations will be irrevocably transformed. What began as an ill-advised late-night rendezvous in the City of Light has morphed into an accusation so grave that Mariah Collins has sworn to see justice done, no matter how high the cost. Though the Eiffel Tower's glittering silhouette faded in the early morning haze, the memory of that night remains vivid, and Mariah refuses to let it be swept under the romantic veneer of Parisian cobblestones. In the days since her return to Genoa City, Mariah has borne the weight of shame and betrayal in silence, but the cracks in her composure have become impossible to hide. Friends and family have noticed her withdrawn manner, the haunted look in her eyes, the trembling of her hands when she thinks no one is watching. Yet beneath that fragility lies a fierce determination. She will not negotiate. She will not allow Cole to buy her silence or manipulate the narrative to protect himself. Justice, she believes, must be served in full view of the law. The trial date has been set for later this week. The courthouse, a grand neoclassical building with marble columns and stately oak doors, stands ready to bear witness to the unfolding drama. Mariah will arrive not as a silent victim but as a woman transformed by betrayal, determined to strip away every facade that Cole Abbott has worn. She has instructed her attorney to reject any offers of settlement, to push for the full weight of criminal sanction against her former lover. In her mind, only criminal charges and a public conviction will suffice to reveal the depravity of Cole's actions. It was on that fateful night in Paris that Cole allegedly drugged Mariah, taking advantage of her vulnerability and her trust. According to Mariah's testimony, Cole laced her drink with a potent dose of alcohol after insisting they celebrate his business triumph. When Mariah's vision blurred and her senses dulled, he carried her to a secluded area of his hotel suite. And there, she awoke to a nightmare of hazy recollections and the dawning realization that she had been violated. The discovery of an unexpected pregnancy only deepened her horror. Confronted with the evidence of her own body's betrayal, Mariah resolved to confront Cole, to demand answers, and, when he refused to admit wrongdoing, to bring him before the bar of justice. Cole, for his part, has maintained a veneer of shock and indignation. He has branded the allegations as misunderstandings, demanded photographic or video proof of Mariah's incapacity, and insinuated that any suggestion of non-consensual conduct is absurd. In the halls of Abbott Enterprises and among their mutual acquaintances, whispers circulated of Mariah's reputation, of possible collusion with opportunistic lawyers, until the police intervened. Parisian authorities, alerted by Mariah's initial report and subsequent medical findings, forwarded their dossier to Genoa City PD. Now, the local district attorney's office possesses a compelling case file, toxicology reports, medical examinations, witness statements from hotel staff, and Mariah's own unwavering declarations. As opening arguments commence, the courtroom will be thick with tension. Mariah will sit at the plaintiff's table, her expression a mask of resolute calm. Each time Cole's gaze meets hers across the room, she will steel herself against the temptation to look away. Her legal team will present the dichotomy between the celebratory tone of the evening, photographic evidence of friends raising glasses, and the toxicology report confirming the presence of sedative substances in Mariah's bloodstream. They will call the hotel's night manager, who noticed Cole fetching an extra bottle of champagne and Mariah's glass being refilled even after she had begun to slur her words. They will summon the housekeeping staff, who documented Cole justifying Mariah's sudden stupor as a celebratory overindulgence. When it is Cole's turn to testify, the courtroom will fall into a hush so profound that even the rustle of paper is amplified. Cole will stand, the polished veneer of his executive attire at odds with the unsteadiness in his voice. He will insist that Mariah's condition was self-inflicted, that she was simply drunk, and that any suggestion of drugging is a fabrication born from resentment or confusion. His legal counsel will object vigorously at any attempt to introduce evidence of coerced intoxication without incontrovertible proof of his intent. For a moment, it may seem as though Cole's denials have successfully muddied the waters, leaving jurors to question whether there is sufficient evidence to convict. But then, inevitably, comes the turning point. Under direct examination, Cole's composure will crack. He will be confronted with text messages he sent to a close friend that evening, boasting of quieting her down so he could have his way without disturbance. The prosecution will present security camera footage from the hallway outside Cole's suite, showing him helping an unsteady Mariah into the room while glancing around to ensure no one else was within earshot. They will reveal medical testimony about the cocktail used, one that cannot be replicated by mere drinking too much and that matches the sedative found in Mariah's system. With each shred of irrefutable proof, Cole's denials will become increasingly hollow. Finally, when faced with the incontrovertible weight of evidence, Cole's bravado will falter. The courtroom will witness the moment when pride gives way to resignation, and he confesses, quietly but unmistakably, to orchestrating the intoxication, to violating Mariah's trust, and to fathering a child under false pretenses. His words, once sharpened for deflection, will falter and break apart. He will admit the mistake, apologize to Mariah, and claim he is ashamed of himself. But the damage, both legal and personal, will already be done. Mariah will rise when the judge pronounces Cole in contempt of court before ordering his immediate arrest. Uniformed officers will step forward, their movements crisp and deliberate. Handcuffs will click shut around Cole's wrists in a moment that will sear itself into the memories of every witness present. As he is led away, his shoulders slumped and his eyes downcast, there will be no triumphant music, no vindictive smirk. Only the heavy silence that follows the collapse of presumptive innocence. In the gallery, Claire and Victoria will exchange looks of contempt and disbelief. Claire, ever the moral compass of the Abbott clan, will feel a bitter mix of sorrow and anger, sorrow that her former brother-in-law could commit such a betrayal, anger that he subjected Mariah to this trauma. Victoria, who has endured many trials in her own life, will impose on her expression a stern resolve. This man, once welcomed into the family's inner circle, has proven himself unworthy of trust. When the dust settles, the trial will stand as a testament to Mariah's courage and unwavering commitment to justice. It will remind viewers, and the residents of Genoa City, that power and privilege cannot always shield one from accountability. Mariah, despite her humiliation and the endless nights of doubt, will emerge not as a broken victim but as a survivor whose voice carried the day. Cole, stripped of his defenses and led away in handcuffs, will face the full consequences of his actions, criminal penalties, loss of status, and the fracture of every relationship that once defined his world. Beyond the immediate fallout, this scandal will send shockwaves through both families. The Abbotts will reckon with the knowledge that one of their own nearly escaped culpability, while the Collinses will rally around Mariah, offering support and reaffirming the strength of familial bonds. Genoa City itself will be forever changed by the public airing of such intimate betrayal, and the lessons of this trial, about consent, trust, and the perils of power, will resonate long after the final gavel falls. In the end, the story of Cole and Mariah's Paris scandal and subsequent trial is not merely a sordid chapter in soap opera lore. It is a narrative of transformation, of a young woman reclaiming her voice, of a privileged scion reduced to a defendant, and of a community brought face to face with the moral imperatives of justice. As the courtroom doors swing shut and the headlines settle into tomorrow's past, the echoes of this trial will linger. Reminders that truth, no matter how deeply buried beneath the glitter of romance or the intoxication of power, will eventually find its way into the open, demanding accountability in the harsh light of day. The tension surrounding Cole Abbott's trial continues to escalate, as the emotional weight of his actions weighs heavily on those closest to him. Mariah Collins, having endured so much already, now faces the bitter reality of her former lover's crumbling world. Cole, once a man of wealth and influence, is now an aging, sick man locked behind bars, facing the consequences of his past misdeeds. His health is deteriorating rapidly, and with each passing day, his chances of survival grow slimmer. The cruel irony is that this very situation, his illness, could be the key to his potential release. As his condition worsens, many question whether Cole deserves sympathy, or whether he should face the full extent of the law. But what if the truth is more complex than what the courtrooms and accusations suggest? Cole's admission of guilt, as devastating as it is to Mariah and everyone around him, raises more questions than answers. Is he truly taking responsibility for his actions, or is he trying to shield someone else from the repercussions of his behavior? His confession, while important in the legal battle, feels incomplete, and the motives behind it seem murky. There are whispers that Cole's actions were not entirely his own. Could he have been manipulated? Or was there a deeper reason for his behavior? His confession leaves more to be discovered, and the possibility that he's trying to protect someone else haunts everyone involved. Victoria, especially, struggles with these doubts. For Victoria Newman, this has been a journey of disbelief and emotional turmoil. As a wife, mother, and businesswoman, she's used to handling difficult situations, but the man she loves is now embroiled in a scandal that threatens to destroy everything they've built. She can't fathom that Cole, her husband, would intentionally harm someone, especially someone as vulnerable as Mariah. While the trial has painted Cole as the villain, Victoria's mind refuses to accept this reality. Her heart tells her that perhaps alcohol was a factor. That the terrible night in Paris wasn't premeditated, but rather a consequence of poor decisions made in a drunken haze. Could it be that they both got carried away in a moment of weakness? That they were both victims of their own self-destructive choices? Victoria's instincts push her to explore every angle, to find any shred of hope that could clear Cole's name. She refuses to believe that the man she married is truly capable of the actions he's been accused of. So, she begins to work behind the scenes, navigating the delicate balance of family loyalty, public perception, and legal consequences. Victoria arranges a meeting with Mariah and Sharon, hoping to appeal to their compassion for Cole's deteriorating health and to negotiate a possible solution that could bring him out of jail, where his chances of survival are slim. The conversation with Sharon and Mariah is tense. Both women have their own reservations about Cole. Sharon, especially, is hesitant to soften her stance, given the immense pain and betrayal her daughter has endured. But Victoria is relentless, emphasizing Cole's need for medical care. She pleads with them, highlighting that Cole has cancer, and without the proper treatment, his time is running out. "I know what he did was wrong," Victoria says, her voice shaky with emotion. "But he's a human being, and he's my husband. He's also facing a battle with a terminal illness. He needs to be treated. He can't die in prison. We can't let that happen." Mariah listens, her face a study of conflicted emotions. She knows that Cole's illness changes the stakes. But the trauma she has suffered, the invasion of her trust, is not something that can be easily overlooked. "I don't know if I can forgive him, Victoria," she says, her voice steady but filled with hurt. "He took advantage of me, and now he wants sympathy because he's sick? What about the pain he caused me? What about my life? My choices?" Victoria nods, understanding the weight of Mariah's words, but she continues, "I know you're angry, and I don't expect you to forgive him right away. But think about the consequences. He won't survive if he stays locked up. I want us to find a solution, something that works for everyone. Maybe there's a middle ground." Sharon, who has been quiet throughout the conversation, finally speaks up. "You're asking us to let him off the hook, Victoria," she says with a mixture of disbelief and frustration. "You want to take him out of prison because he's sick? What about what he did to Mariah? What about the justice she deserves? We can't just let him walk free because of his illness." Victoria's face hardens. "I'm not asking you to ignore what he did," she says, her voice now firm. "I'm asking for a fair chance, for Cole to get the treatment he needs, to be given some time before the law comes down on him. We can't ignore his health condition. It's not about letting him go free, It's about giving him the chance to face consequences without dying in the process. The room falls silent as the weight of Victoria's words hangs in the air. Sharon and Mariah exchange glances, both women clearly conflicted. It's clear that neither of them wants to let Cole off easy, but they also recognize that his survival is in jeopardy. Mariah, despite the pain and betrayal, begins to soften. If he's really sick, maybe there's something we can do. But we need assurances, Victoria. We need a guarantee that Cole will face the consequences of his actions, no matter what. Victoria nods solemnly. I agree. There will be consequences. But for now, he needs help. He can't stay in jail without proper care. As the conversation wraps up, the three women agree to find a solution that can balance justice with mercy. Victoria will work to have Cole transferred to a medical facility where he can receive the treatment he desperately needs. Mariah, still grappling with the anger and betrayal she feels, agrees to consider the possibility of a compassionate release, under the condition that Cole faces his crimes in full. The outcome of the conversation remains uncertain, but what is clear is that the scandal involving Cole is far from over. The complexities of his actions, his health, and the emotional toll on those involved will continue to unravel in the coming days. The path forward will not be easy, and the consequences of his behavior will continue to reverberate throughout the lives of those he has hurt. Victoria's struggle to protect her husband while reconciling with the consequences of his actions is just beginning. And for Mariah, the pain of her betrayal is something she will carry with her for a long time, but the hope for justice and healing remains. The scene was set in the cozy living room, the faint hum of the house indicating the transition from one chapter to another. Sharon, now at the brink of a new chapter in her life, stood by the doorway, gathering her belongings. The weight of her decision to leave Genoa City, to step away from the life she had built with her family, seemed to hang in the air. Her mind was flooded with uncertainties, but she knew it was time. Mariah, despite her apprehensions, was supportive, yet the underlying tension between them remained. Sharon had tried to convince herself that her departure was what was best for everyone, but deep down, she knew it was a decision fraught with emotional consequences. As Sharon picked up her bag and turned toward the door, she reminded her daughter in a half-joking tone, "Remember, the phone still works. Don't forget to call me if you need anything." Mariah, her eyes glistening with a mix of sadness and resolve, nodded. She appreciated her mother's words, even though she wasn't sure she was ready to let go just yet. She knew Sharon was doing this for herself, but it was hard not to feel the sting of abandonment, even if it was temporary. Sharon's voice softened, almost pleading, as she added, "Promise me, Mariah. If things get tough, just call." Mariah smiled weakly, trying to ease her mother's worries, but the unspoken tension lingered between them. "I promise, Mom," she said, her tone reassuring. "You know where to find me if anything comes up." In the midst of this, Nick entered the room, his presence bringing a comforting familiarity. He gave Mariah a slight smile, and the two shared a quick, silent exchange as Sharon moved to gather the last of her things. Mariah then turned to Nick with a teasing smile. "So, are you and my mom developing something?" she asked, half joking, her tone light but searching for the truth. Nick, caught off guard but not flustered, responded with a casual shrug. "We're just hanging out. Honestly, we're both just having a good time. It's been fun." His words were sincere but held a subtle undertone. He wasn't sure where things were headed, but for now, he was happy for Sharon, seeing the joy she was experiencing in his company. Mariah looked relieved. "I'm glad, Nick," she said, a genuine warmth in her voice. "I just want her to be happy. She deserves it. And I'm glad she's spending time with someone she feels safe with." Nick's face softened as he looked at Mariah, his voice sincere. "She deserves peace. She's been through a lot." He paused, then added, his voice quieter, "But you know, Mariah, your mom's been worried about you too. She's not just leaving for herself, she's worried about how you're handling everything. Are you really okay with her going?" Mariah's expression faltered for just a second, a quiet vulnerability creeping through. She sighed, her gaze falling to the floor as she processed Nick's words. She's making it harder, you know? Trying to help, but it's not easy. She looked up at him, her face softening as she admitted, I think I might need some help too. But I don't know how to ask for it. Nick nodded in understanding, his eyes gentle with empathy. I get it. But remember, Mariah, if you need anything, I'm here. You don't have to go through this alone. I'm not going anywhere. Mariah's chest tightened with emotion, and for the first time in a while, she felt a sense of reassurance. She had always struggled with asking for help, preferring to shoulder her burdens alone. But hearing Nick's words gave her a sense of comfort and security. Thank you, she whispered, her voice thick with gratitude. At that moment, Sharon reappeared in the doorway, her suitcase in hand. She stood there for a moment, taking in the scene, the understanding between her daughter and Nick, the unspoken bond of support. She felt a pang of bittersweetness, knowing that she was leaving, but also seeing how much her family had grown and changed. They had weathered so much together, and though this moment was difficult, it felt like the right time for all of them to move forward. Sharon's voice cracked slightly as she spoke, disbelief still evident in her tone. I can't believe this is really happening, she said softly, her eyes scanning the room.